There is an old rule of power that has shaped empires for centuries. Anyone who rules the sea commands the trade. Anyone who rules the trade commands the wealth of the world, and consequently the world itself. These words, attributed to Sir Walter Raleigh, are not just history. They are the key to understanding one of the most dangerous geopolitical crises unfolding today, one that the world is barely talking about. A crisis centered on Ethiopia, a nation of more than 130 million people, an ancient civilization, a regional giant, yet paradoxically, a country trapped by geography, cut off from the sea, and struggling for economic oxygen in one of the most strategically contested regions on Earth. And now, after 3 decades of strategic suffocation, Ethiopia is attempting something that could fundamentally reshape the balance of power in the Horn of Africa, the Somaliland naval deal. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geopolitics at the Land of Origins. To understand why this deal has shaken the region so dramatically, we need to understand one uncomfortable truth. For nations, access to the sea is not a luxury, it is survival. As historian Fernand Braudel famously argued, ports are the arteries of prosperity, the vital organs through which commerce, security, and national power flow. For Ethiopia, losing direct maritime access was not merely an economic setback. It was a geopolitical earthquake whose consequences still echo across the region today. Once deeply connected to the Red Sea, Ethiopia now finds itself dependent on external routes for the overwhelming majority of its trade, vulnerable to political pressure, regional instability, and strategic isolation. But here is where the story becomes deeply controversial. Many Ethiopians argue that the loss of Assab was not simply the inevitable outcome of history or war, but the consequence of political decisions made during a moment of national transformation in the early 1990s. Former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Herman Cohen has publicly stated that during negotiations surrounding the political transition of 1991, discussions existed regarding continued Ethiopian access to Assab or alternative arrangements. According to Cohen, Ethiopia's leadership at the time chose not to pursue that path. For critics, this decision marked the beginning of a 30-year geopolitical dependency. For supporters, it reflected the realities of a rapidly changing political order. Regardless of where one stands, the outcome is undeniable. Ethiopia became the world's most populous landlocked nation. And in geopolitics, geography never forgets. But history rarely stands still. Today, Ethiopia's leadership appears determined to challenge what many see as a decades-long strategic constraint. The agreement with Somaliland is not simply about building naval access or securing a port. It is about rewriting the geopolitical map of the Horn of Africa, and that is precisely why the reaction has been explosive. What appeared at first glance to be a bilateral agreement quickly triggered a regional realignment. Somalia condemned the move as a violation of its sovereignty. Egypt intensified diplomatic engagement with Somalia at a moment of already heightened tensions over the Nile. Eritrea entered new strategic conversations within a rapidly evolving regional landscape. Suddenly, a local agreement became something much bigger, a regional struggle over power, influence, and survival. For Egypt, the stakes are obvious. The battle over the Nile has long shaped Cairo's strategic thinking. Ethiopia's construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam fundamentally altered regional calculations, introducing new fears in Egypt regarding water security and long-term leverage. In this context, any regional development that affects Ethiopia's strategic position naturally attracts intense Egyptian attention. For Eritrea, the picture is equally complicated. Regional security, shifting alliances, and historical tensions continue to shape calculations in ways that make Ethiopia's maritime ambitions impossible to ignore. Somalia, meanwhile, finds itself at the center of an existential dilemma, balancing concerns over territorial sovereignty with mounting regional pressure from competing geopolitical actors. And this is where the story becomes global. Because this is no longer simply about Ethiopia, or Somaliland, or Somalia. The Horn of Africa sits beside one of the world's most strategic maritime corridors, the Red Sea and the el-Mandeb Strait, a choke point through which massive portions of global trade, energy shipments, and military movements pass every single day. Global powers know this. Regional powers know this. Everyone is watching. From Gulf states seeking strategic leverage, to Turkey's expanding regional influence, to Egypt's security concerns, to broader international interests surrounding Red Sea stability. The Horn of Africa has quietly transformed into one of the most consequential geopolitical chessboards of the 21st century. And now Ethiopia has moved a piece. A very consequential piece. So the real question is this. Is Ethiopia finally breaking free from the constraints of geography? Or has the Somaliland naval deal opened the door to a far more dangerous confrontation, one that could redefine the future of the Horn of Africa? Because one thing is certain, the Red Sea crisis no one is talking about may soon become impossible to ignore. Is Ethiopia making a necessary geopolitical correction or stepping into a dangerous regional storm? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you value deep, serious analysis of East African geopolitics, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Geopolitics at the Land of Origins, and join us as we unpack the hidden forces shaping our region and the world.